Hello everyone, my name is Rafal and welcome to my vlog. So before I jump into today's vlog, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who recently participated in my headshot photography workshop in San Diego. That was a fantastic group of photographers and I had absolutely blast over there. On the top of that, I have to say that if you never visit San Diego before, please go and visit that place. It's just such an amazing city. I was just amazed by like everything what I saw over there. So if I could, I would definitely move there in the heartbeat, but unfortunately I have to be back in Canada and we have snow already here, so it's kind of tough, but well, life is the way it is, so I can't do much about it. So let's jump into today's vlog, and I want to talk about something which I don't see much of a discussion online over that topic, and I just want to talk about finances when it comes to running a business as a photographer. And I just want to share with you guys my little bit personal story and basically talk about it in the details and basically share with you guys some of the tips and advice, and just maybe that vlog will help you, some of you guys, to, I don't know, just figure out some of those things, because I know as a full-time professional photographer, finances are one of the most important part of running the business. And sometimes if we're not gonna get this right, or we've make some huge mistakes along the way, it might put us in a little bit of trouble. And it also, if we get into some kind of crazy debt with you know, the stuff what we do, that might take years and years to recover. And that's actually what happened to me. And this is something which is really hard to talk about it, because especially when you're starting a business, you most of the time have no idea how this whole thing works, and you have to learn the hard way sometimes. And that's what happened to me. And especially for me, when I moved from Poland to Canada, a lot of those things like credit cards, mortgages, leases, was something which was completely new for me. On the top of that, I was fairly young at that time when I started my business, and this whole thing was just a mystery for me. So I just want to talk about it, because I think, again, this is something which was not discussed as supposed to be. And we talk a lot about equipment, we talk a lot about the lighting and all this, you know, cool stuff, but when it comes to the running the business, you know, there are some workshops and courses and stuff like that, but I just want to kind of give you what not to do to get yourself in the situation where you're going to be struggling with your photography. And I can assure you, if your finances are not done right, or you're not running them properly, what's going to happen, it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect your business, it's going to affect your life, it's going to affect your creativity, it's going to pretty much just affect your entire life. So let's discuss this and let's talk about it in few points, which gonna give you a little bit of better idea what I would like to discuss in this vlog. So let me start with saying, before you get into the business of photography, it would be a good idea to learn how to run the business. And we're living in the era nowadays where we have access to internet, and there's tons of informations out there. But also, I would highly recommend it to maybe hire some kind of financial advisor or someone who has the knowledge to run you through all the details and give you all the informations which you need in order to start your business. And I can tell you, this is going to be extremely beneficial for you, and I never have done it. I thought I know everything. I pretty much kind of just run with it, and I learn along the way. And that was a big mistake, because as I said a few seconds ago, my starting with the photography business, you know, was kind of cool at the beginning, and then I ran into a lot of problems, and as I said, took me years and years to recover. And I just want to again share those things with you guys, because I know some of you guys might have the same problems as we speak, and also some of you guys might run into them in the future, so it's better to be prepared. So going back to our conversation, as I said, try to learn as much as possible. The more you know, the more you're going to be prepared for any circumstances. and also that's gonna kind of like help you to manage this whole thing, because as I said, finances are very structured thing, and if you don't have this whole thing sorted out, sooner or later this whole structure will collapse, and you know, at that time it might be too late. So the tip number 2 I would like to share with you guys is don't run your business on credit cards, because it's a huge no-no. And I remember when I started, the bank gave me $10,000 credit card, and I'm just like, wow, I can just buy the equipment, I can buy this, I can buy that. But I didn't realize that, you know, you still have to pay it off. Plus, on the top of that, usually credit cards have huge interest, and then by the time you start paying this off, you might get in such a debt that it's really difficult to recover. Not to mention, you probably have your regular bills, you have some other stuff, you know, which you have to look after, and the interest is gonna just keep piling up. So, and you know, those credit cards, they don't really care if you have money or you don't. So if you don't have some kind of stable situation, it's gonna be hard for you to kind of like make this whole thing work. On the top of that, when you get, let's say, few dry months, and what I mean by that is, you know, might have less clients, you know, there might be some situation you might get sick, or there might be situation where you're not going to be able to basically run your business. You know, those things gonna hit you like a hammer, and you're gonna have a lot of issues with, you know, dealing with this all problem. So what would be the advice in order to make this work? Well, first of all, before you purchase anything or you start kind of go on the shopping spree, just analyze first of all if you really need those things. I know it's good to have brand new camera, it's good to have those high-end lenses and all these accessories, but the question is, do you really need those things? And that's something very important, because I remember back in the days I had this false mindset that if I'm gonna have the high-end camera, that's gonna bring me more business, which is completely untrue, and this is completely false statement, and we actually get in that trap sometimes to believe that, and this is the worst thing what can happen. The camera is just a tool, and most of our clients, they only look for the end product, what you can deliver, how the images they're gonna look like, how you're gonna provide your service, not the camera. I never had client in my life who asked me, well, I will hire you because you have this certain equipment. Equipment is only to kind of help you out and make those things more efficient and basically work quicker, but basically don't get into that trap that if you spend all this crazy money on some high-end equipment, that's going to bring you more business and your business is going to be more stable. Don't think that way, because this is false. I've learned that hard way, and honestly, just don't go that path. So the second thing, when it comes to the purchasing stuff and buying stuff, don't buy them when you're emotionally high. I know sometimes you see something and you basically kind of get your mind wrapped up about it, or you go to the store and the salesperson is trying to convince you, well, you need this, you need that, this is going to help you with whatever you're doing, and then you're getting this like hype emotions which kind of force you, and your brain is telling you, well, I need to purchase this because this is what's gonna change everything what I do. And my advice would be basically take a little bit of break, take 48 hours, I would say, kind of break from, you know, this hype, go home, rethink this whole thing, get your emotions kind of to the level where you think more reasonably, and then you can make a decision. And I know that helped me a lot sometimes, but there were situations when I started, I went to the store to purchase one thing and I basically end up with leaving with a bunch of other stuff, which most of the time I didn't really need it, or I, you know, have some limited budget to purchase something, and then, you know, they convince me to buy pretty much something which is more expensive, and I couldn't afford those things, but I thought, well, you know, they kind of like, you know, get my brain tricked into buying the things which I really didn't need it, and also on the top of that I really didn't have the money to pay for it. So again, be very careful when it comes to shopping and all this stuff, because that really might put you in the very difficult situation financially. So another tip what I would like to kind of share with you guys is don't fall in all those sales, discounts, promotions, deals trap, because this is something which also I think triggers a lot of people, that they need something because there is some kind of deal going on and you have 10% off or whatever, and then we buy this stuff. So first of all, don't buy stuff just because they're on sale. Like, this is just ridiculous sometimes, but people do that. And just again, we're gonna go back to our foundation. You buy only stuff which you really need and they're necessary, and they're gonna kind of make your work easier. Don't again fall into those whole thing that, well, there's big promotion going on and you jump into it like there's no tomorrow. And I think sometimes what is ridiculous, and I've done this big time, I purchased something because it was on the promotion or there was some kind of deal going on, and I still put that on the credit card. So even I save, I don't know, 10-15%, but by the time I paid this off, I paid like so much extra on the top of what I supposed to pay, that this whole deal, when you start kind of calculating how much you have to pay at the end of the day, was just outrageous. So also be careful whenever you're purchasing something and there's a deal going on. Just be careful and try to kind of analyze, okay, if I will have the cash and I pay for it, or I have money for it, that's a different story. But if you don't and you're putting this whole thing on the credit card, that's just kind of gonna be nuts, and you're gonna pay way more than you're supposed to pay, and like it's gonna again cause you more problems, and this is not really actually the sale which you actually are looking for. So another tip what I found, which is extremely important, I know especially at the beginning when you starting your business, you getting kind of like all those stuff and all this equipment and all those things. So my actually concept is, if I don't use something for 6 months, I basically put that for sale and try to kind of get rid of it. Because if we don't do that, you guys realize after a while we're gonna get stuck with all this money into gear which we don't even use it. And the problem is that, first of all, nowadays the equipment basically changes all the time, and we need to pretty much just keep, well, I don't want to say we have to, but it seems like we have to just pretty much is upgrading our gear once in a while. And then if we don't basically get rid of the old stuff, we're gonna get more and more gear, and if we're not gonna sell it, it's gonna just sit there, and it's just frozen money which we cannot even kind of put back to whatever we are doing. On the top of that, what I found, if we wait too long with selling our equipment, what happens is it's gonna lose in value, and it's much harder to sell it because it's older, or there's some new stuff coming up, and basically the value just kind of go down and down and down to the point where some of those stuff or pretty much like we're not gonna be able to get anything for it. So try to kind of maintain this whole thing. So whenever you purchase, for example, new camera, new lens, whatever, try to resell it, the old one, so it's not sits in your closet and kind of collects the dust, and basically you have just kind of money there and you're not pretty much using it. Okay, so what happens if we get into the trouble and we have issues financially and we have problems to basically maintain and manage our business, and we feel that our finances are basically out of whack, there's no control, we are in the debt, and there is something where it's even hard to grasp and control, and we basically losing our mind what to do. So I think the biggest mistake what people do, and I was one of them, people don't ask for help. We pretty much just wait till, well, maybe there will be better month, or there will be maybe something coming up which gonna kind of help me out with these financial problems, and we actually are ashamed that we are in that kind of situation. And this is actually the worst thing what we can do, because this is actually basically put us into a situation where this whole thing is going to be dragging forever, and there will be no way we'll be able to get out of it. And I think the first step, we have to admit it. We have a problem, we have issue, and we have to somehow solve it. And that's actually the first step. If we get and we're gonna reach that point, I think from that moment it's much easier to kind of solve the problem. Also, I think just by having the problems, I know this is something we shouldn't be ashamed of, because probably you're not the first one and not the last person who have those problems. Because based on my knowledge, most businesses have at some point problems financially, and people have to cope with this somehow. And I think that's the world actually is created, and that's how a financial system works, that sooner or later we're gonna hit some bumps and we have to somehow deal with them. But the worst thing is that we're gonna try to hide in the cave and pretend that everything is great, everything is okay, and somehow this whole thing resolve itself. But that's not gonna unfortunately happen. We need to somehow get some help. So the first step is definitely get some help and find someone who can really solve the problem. So for example, if we have an issue with credit cards or with some loans or whatever, we need to open up and we need to talk to people from that financial institution, what they can do, so they can kind of find or help us to find a solution to deal with the problem. And sometimes we might hit the door and they might basically tell us that they're not gonna be able to help us. But if you kind of give up on the first step, and that's what I learned, like you might again go back to your cave and literally do absolutely nothing about it. So you need to just keep trying, keep pushing. And one of the most important thing what I've learned along the way is that you need to talk to the right people. And most of the time, when you go, let's say, to the branch of your bank, these people who work there, usually they're not going to be able to help you much. They're kind of limited. They have only certain rules which they can follow, and they have only kind of agenda which they have kind of follow through in order to help you. You need to talk to someone who has a little bit more power. They can look deeper in your situation, and then they can find the solution. So also my advice is, there's a lot of, I would say, bank help services or departments which specialize in solving those kind of situations. So you basically have to reach out to them, sit down and talk to them face to face, and basically tell them exactly what is going on, and then they will be able to help you. And the sooner you will resolve those problems, it's going to be better for you, it's going to be better for your business, and it's going to be better for pretty much everything what you do. And I have to tell you that I was in a situation where I was in some kind of difficulties when it comes to the finances. And what happened was this whole thing was affecting me so much that I couldn't focus properly. I couldn't deliver the right images, because my mind was occupied by things which I kind of didn't have a control over, because I was just trying to kind of kill this whole thing in me and hope that this whole thing will kind of resolve itself. And that was biggest mistake. As I said, don't ever do that. You have to kind of face your situation and admit it. Okay, you know what, I screw up, I've made a mistake, but now I have to fix it and I have to do something about it. So I can drag about it for another, I would say, half an hour, but I'm not going to bore you with this anymore. I just want to kind of talk a little bit about it, because I know from my actually experience and also what I'm reading nowadays, that most of photographers, their businesses, they're dying within the 5 years, and the main reason is finances. And that's why I've decided to do this vlog and hopefully give you a little bit of, I would say, advice, and give you a little bit of my perspective, and you guys can also see that I went through that, and I know how hard it is to pretty much, you know, kind of get out of this and, you know, make sure that this whole thing is kind of behind you, and then you can just run your business properly and just kind of enjoy what you do, but also you're stable financially, so you don't have to worry about that part, because, you know, this is something extremely important, and it's gonna basically affect our photography, gonna affect our life. It's gonna affect, you know, the kind of relationship we have with our family and all this stuff. So it's something very, very important, and we have to take that seriously. So if you have any additional questions, if you have anything you would like to add to this, or you would like to kind of, I don't know, add a little bit more what I have said, please feel free to leave the comment or contact me directly. I'll be more than happy to discuss this more, because as I said, this is something which is extremely important, and we need to, I would say, have open conversation, and we have to just share those stuff with each other to help each photographer, so they're not gonna run into those problems, because, you know, it's a quite big deal. Anyways, thank you for watching, stay tuned, and I'll be in touch with you guys very soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.